Hi everyone. So I thought I would do a reading vlog this weekend. It is Friday, September 2nd. Yes. And it is the start of a 3-day weekend here in the United States. And I don't really have a lot of plans this weekend. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to do some reading because I'm very brain dead and I don't even want to look at screens this weekend. And so I thought reading would be a good way to spend this weekend. The first book that I know for sure I'm going to read is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. I don't plan on finishing this entire book this weekend, but I do want to make some good progress on it. This is the September book club pick for the Chunky Chapter Book Club. I make like a reading schedule for my patrons, so it like breaks up every book that we read into relatively equal parts. So if you want to like pace yourself over the course of the month, then you can follow that schedule and be done by the end of the month. And so for this one, I'm hoping to get through a decent chunk of it to kind of like get ahead of the schedule, because I found that life often gets in the way of my other plans. And so I feel like if I can get ahead a little bit, I'll be better off for the rest of the month. And so that's my goal. I don't want to finish this book this weekend, but I am enjoying what I've read so far. And so part of me is like, maybe it wouldn't be the worst to just read the whole thing this weekend. So yeah, we'll see how far I get this weekend, but I don't plan on finishing this. And then my other goal is just to make some progress on my physical TBR. Look how small that TBR is. It looks amazing. So the oldest books on my TBR, the first one is These Truths by Jill Lepore, but I don't plan on reading that one this weekend because I want to save that for Nonfiction November and potentially a chunky chapter pick. We'll see. The other three books that I have that are the oldest on my physical TBR are from February this year, which is huge. I thought I would pick up those three books, do a quick like try a chapter thing and see if any of them are vibing with my brain. So yeah, let me go grab those books. You can watch me struggle a little bit because of course they're all at the bottom of the list, or stack I should say. I'm so proud of myself that stack did not fall over. It doesn't always work that well. So the three oldest books on my physical TBR besides These Truths are The White Girl by Toni Birch. I was sent this by Harper Villa. This is a mystery book that takes place, I believe, in Australia, and it's written by an Indigenous author, so all things that sound good to me. We have Seeking a Fortune Elsewhere by Cynthia Banu. This was sent to me by Catapult, and this is a collection of short stories. So this might actually be good to sprinkle out throughout the entire weekend and see how like it really goes. And like maybe I'll just assess throughout the weekend how like this is fitting with my brain or not. But yeah, short story collection written by an author. Yeah, she's, I believe, of Indian descent, but I don't know much more than that. And then we have The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, which came out earlier this year. This is an art copy that was also sent to me. I've heard mixed things about this book. I've heard that it's technically adult fantasy. I believe it's fantasy, or maybe it's science fiction. It's SFF. But it reads a lot like young adult, but honestly, like I might be okay with it. So again, we'll give this one a try and see how it's working out for us. Now that I've like picked up those books, I realize that really it's these two books that are kind of competing for my attention, because I'll probably sprinkle in the short stories here and there. And yeah, that feels like a pretty solid like TBR. So let's check out the beginnings of both of these books and see how it's going. Hello, I'm back. So I really quickly read like the first couple pages of both of these books. I didn't read the full chapters because I don't have time before my class. So I think I'm going to start with this one, partially because it's shorter, partially because the first couple of pages intrigued me a little bit more, and partially because I don't think I can mentally handle an SFF book, because I don't read a lot of science fiction and fantasy. It often takes more for me, or requires more for me, that's the way to say it, to like get into these books, because like I have to remember how these worlds are built and things like that, and you have to learn about like if there's a magic system or what's happening on the planets and all that sort of stuff. And to start off with, I don't think this is a good place to go, but I think like if I finish some of these other books or make some decent progress in some of these other books, I could pick up this one later, because I was enjoying the writing of the first couple of pages, but also it's like a little bit angsty, and I'm like not quite ready for that yet either. So yes, I will be starting off with The White Girl, and again, it's also shorter, so that's kind of nice too. I'm kind of in the mood to like work my way through some books off my physical TBR. So yes, I will start with this, but for now I have to go to Pilates, and then I'll probably like eat dinner, shower, do all that jazz before I settle in for the night. And I'll keep you all updated on which book I end up reading tonight.
Didn't go to college. He's like a people person. He's a very empathetic individual. He's really good with words. And like, he's gonna become the face of the company and probably screw her over somehow. But also, this company that they're building, this app, is completely, it's not ethical. It's not ethical at all. So yeah, I don't know where this is gonna go, but it's not gonna be anywhere good.
Also, I secretly recorded you.
What? Are you serious?
Yes.
You at least look cute.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello everyone, it is like 9 p.m., something like that, almost 9 p.m. I'm about 100 pages into The Heart's Invisible Furies, and I'm loving this book. I had no idea what it was about at all, so it's just been completely delightful experiencing this story. It follows a character named Cyril, who, like, the first part of the story is about his biological mother and basically how she ended up becoming pregnant around 16 or 17 years old, and that she lived in this, like, small town in Ireland and basically got run out of town when they found out she was pregnant. She moved to Dublin, and then she gives away Cyril for adoption. And the second part of the book, which I just, or not the second part, but like this next section that I read was about the family that he ends up getting adopted by, which is like a very rich family. And like, this book is so different than what I expected it to be, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I am very tempted to just like read the whole thing straight through, but I won't. I've been doing a little reading date with my partner, which has been delightful. He's reading The Startup Wife, which I haven't read, but we had gone to a bookstore together and he had seen it and was always interested in it and ended up picking it up recently. So that's been my evening. It's been delightful and lovely and everything that my brain needed. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this book. I'll probably continue on with this a little bit more tonight, just to make a little bit more progress. And excuse me, we'll see what tomorrow brings, whether I still want to keep going with this or if I want to pick up one of the other books from the stack. Hello, good morning. Although it's not technically morning anymore. I'm still like half asleep, even though it's like 11 a.m. I'm so tired today. This week just took so much out of me and I can still feel it. So today will be full of as much resting and nothing else as possible. So I've spent part of this morning reading, which is fantastic. I am now already halfway through The Heart's Invisible Furies, which I didn't think I would be that far along already. This is a very fast read, despite the fact that it's, you know, a little bit of a bigger book. But I'm very much enjoying this story so far. Lots of things happening that I wasn't expecting. I don't generally read synopses for books before picking them up, and so I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought this book was going to be like more like serious and heavy, but it's actually quite lighthearted. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see sort of what's going to happen next, especially now that this book is broken up into 3 sections, and just everything that's happened in the first part towards the end is quite dramatic. So yeah, I'm very excited to keep going with this book. I'll probably stop with this one for the weekend and then pick it back up again later. I read the first story in Seeking Fortunes Elsewhere, and it almost made me cry. So, pretty good start to a short story collection. I'm very excited to keep going with this one. I think there are 8 or 9 stories in this collection, and it's a pretty short book. Yeah, it's like 200 and something pages. So I'll probably dip in and out of this all weekend, and then I'll start The Other White Girl. So very excited to do nothing but read. Hi everyone. We're going to do the standard vlog thing where I put on some makeup while I talk to you. Because I found out a little bit last minute. Like, I found out later yesterday that I actually have a family party I need to go to tonight. And so, yeah, I need to start getting ready for that. My partner is on his way over to the house because he is also invited. And so, yeah, I figured I could put on my makeup while giving you some updates. I honestly don't have too many updates for y'all. I've just been sort of like chugging along with this short story collection throughout the day. I'm really enjoying it, to be clear, but it's also been like a little bit of a lazy Saturday, which I've needed, especially since I have to go socialize and all that stuff now. But I was basically like reading a short story and then cleaning a little bit, and then reading a short story, and then playing some games on my computer. And I just finished another story, and now I'm getting ready. It's been like a very nice way to read the collection, but it means I'm not going through it very quickly, which is fine. Honestly, there's always like a part of my brain that is still like very much in the mindset of I'm recording a vlog, I'm doing stuff for BookTube, and therefore I need to read all of the books. But in reality, I do not. There's no trophy or award for the person who reads the most books, and like I'm not doing this for like my main job or anything like that, so I can take my time and do things as I please. But anyways, the short story collection is fantastic. That's really what I want to talk about. It's written by an author of South Indian descent, which, I'm 100% here for as someone who's also South Indian. She, I believe, it doesn't say it on the biography, so I shouldn't assume it, but all the stories have been about people who are Tamil, and so I'm assuming that she is also Tamil. The first story in the collection won the O. Henry Award, and it was fantastic, but honestly, none of the short stories have really disappointed. The first one takes place in India, and you're following a woman who is widowed, and she has basically moved into a retirement home in India. Her daughter has moved to a suburb outside of Atlanta, and it just kind of talks about the disconnect a little bit between life in the US and life in India, and how different things are, like being a part of this nursing home and things like that. That's a lot of blush, but oh well, here we are. I'm just not used to, I think, seeing my face with makeup anymore. So that was the first one. The second one followed a professor who was originally from India, came to the United States, and was being accused of basically like forcing his graduate students to like do like chores basically for him, like help him around the house. I forgot to put my concealer on. I'm really bad at this whole makeup and talking thing. But he always saw it as like he was treating his like graduate students who were from India like his own kids, and so he would invite them over for like barbecues and whatever, and then like ask them to help out. And he thought like this was basically like some sort of smear campaign against him from another professor, and things like that, and sort of like him just dealing with that. And then the third one has to do, you're following a woman who moved away from her family after she got a divorce. Basically, her husband asked for the divorce, and afterwards she like lived nearby for a while. They lived in like the Seattle-ish area. Like after getting a divorce, she moves like to the San Francisco area, and like you find out that like now that they're older and her one oldest daughter is getting married, and like the disconnect there. And it's just like all really beautiful and interesting and heartbreaking in a really wonderful way. My favorite types of short story collections are contemporary short stories, so this is like totally up my alley. And yeah, really enjoying it. It also reminds me that someone asked me forever ago to do a video talking about like my favorite short story collections or giving short story collection recommendations, and I still haven't done that, so this is reminding me to do that. But it's good because now I have another short story collection to add that I can talk about, so that's nice. So yeah, if you are someone who enjoys contemporary short story collections, then I'm gonna recommend this one, even though I'm only 3 stories in. But I feel like 3 stories in a row being really strong is a solid sign, because usually I feel like by this point, there's only 8 stories total. But I feel like at this point I would have hit one that I wasn't as excited about, but we'll see. But yeah, I have a family party partners on his way to my house. We still have a couple hours. He's coming a little bit early so we can hang out together before we go. So I'm not sure how much more reading I'm gonna get done today. So I probably will just stick to the short story collection for today, even though I did really want to pick up The White Girl, The Other White Girl. What is this book called? The White Girl, the Tony Birch book. I did want to start reading that one, but I'll probably just pick it up tomorrow. And this one is also on the shorter side. So, maybe I can read the whole thing tomorrow. That's a little bit optimistic, but, putting that out into the universe. Good morning. Got my venti pumpkin cold brew because I'm very sleepy this morning. I have church. I have to go grocery shopping. And there may potentially be a cousin at my house when I return from all of those errands. And I'm very tired today. So we'll see how the reading situation breaks down. I always have grand plans for my weekends to spend a lot of it reading, and then I have lots of lovely, wonderful people in my life, and making time for them is also important. So yes, I read a couple more short stories, including one this morning. I think the goal of this short story collection is to make me cry every single time, and it's very close to succeeding. And so I have 3 stories left in that short story collection. So I'll probably read like one more today, maybe. Maybe I'll read more. I don't know. It's a really good short story collection. And then move on to like novels and things like that. But yeah, it's a early-ish morning for Sunday. It's like 7:45. I need to head to church. I'm playing this morning, so I have to get there early, hence the coffee and whatnot. And yeah, we'll check in eventually. Hello. It's been a couple days since I've turned on this camera. It is now Tuesday afternoon. I'm recording this little outro during my lunch break because this weekend didn't go as I planned, which I think is kind of typical for my life and why I don't do a lot of reading vlogs. I genuinely started out this weekend thinking I had basically nothing to do except on Monday, and then I had all the things to do. Family stuff comes up quite a bit in my life. I think anyone who has maybe kids, I don't have kids, but I see that it has similar effects on people's lives. So kids or larger families and things like that, you can often get pulled in lots of different directions unexpectedly. And I am the type of person who likes to plan, but also I like to not feel so beholden to my plans that I can't be there for other people in my life. And I think that, friends and community and family is all very important. So I didn't do as much reading as I hoped. However, I still got some reading done. I completed Seeking Fortunes Elsewhere, which is hilarious considering that at the beginning of the weekend this was kind of lower on my priority list. But after reading the first short story, I was like, wow, I love this collection, or at least I loved that first short story. And then I kept going, and it did not disappoint at any point. I can't imagine everyone having the exact same reaction to this short story collection as I did, because the author is of South Indian descent and I am as well. And so there's lots of things in here where I'm like, this is very relatable to me, or I understand the perspectives of these characters maybe more than people who aren't South Indian might. However, I think that if you are someone who enjoys short story collections, this is definitely one to put on your radar. It's put out by Catapult, which I think is a smaller press, and so I feel like it hasn't gotten quite as much attention, but very, very strong collection of short stories, probably the best I've read all year. Not that I've read a ton, but there's usually a high bar for short story collections, and this one surpassed it. I also, got a decent chunk of the way through The Heart's Invisible Furies. I think I'm at the halfway point because I finished part 1, and I believe that's really close to where the halfway point is. I'm checking right now. Yeah, basically halfway. And considering that this is a 500 plus page novel and the halfway point is 306 pages, I basically read an entire novel worth of pages over the course of the weekend. And so, that's not nothing. And I'm really glad that I, spent so much time reading this, because looking at my calendar for September, my days are booking up. And so getting a head start on this book for the Chunky Chapter Book Club is honestly a win for me. And then I did start reading The White Girl. I'm about like 2 chapters into this one. And so it's exactly what I would expect from the synopsis in the first couple of pages I read at the beginning of this weekend, but I don't have a lot of thoughts on it yet. However, that's a nice teaser for y'all to come back for my September wrap-up, because I definitely will talk about it then. But yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's dark, and it's already giving me a little bit of anxiety, but I'm looking forward to seeing sort of what pans out with this story. You are following this woman whose daughter has run away and left her granddaughter basically with her grandmother. The grandmother is Aboriginal, and the granddaughter makes it very clear that the father is white. However, the daughter refused to ever talk about it, and then she runs away, and now she thinks she's going to get in trouble with the authorities after a few years of taking care of, like over a decade of taking care of the granddaughter, and she thinks that the authorities are going to take the granddaughter away. So this is very interesting, and I'm very intrigued to, like I said, see where this one goes. So yeah, I'm going to consider this weekend a success, because I did get a lot of reading done, especially considering that I don't do a lot of reading typically over the summer, and I think I'm going back into my fall and winter rhythms. I almost didn't record an outro. I was going to scrap this entire reading vlog, but I think that, it might be nice to see someone do a reading vlog where they only read 1 or 2 books only. Read 1 or 2 books. Watching BookTube, you can create really high standards for what's considered successful, and I'm constantly trying to not hold myself up to unrealistic expectations for my life circumstances. So as someone who works a full-time job and has lots of family and friend commitments, which are great, and is also just trying to, buy a house, get married next year, all of these other big life events all kind of happening at one time, it might not be realistic for me to read for an entire day, but I think I did good for what I had available to me. So let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of the books that I've talked about here today. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave that down below as well. And yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.